Hello everyone, my name is Abhilash Ganesh Pavnikar and today's video topic is that checked exception and unchecked exception. Okay, so in this video we have to discuss about what is an exception handling in Java, then what is the hierarchy of that exception handling, and then what is the checked exception and unchecked exception exactly. Okay, so we will discuss about the each one of them one by one. Okay, so let us introduce first one is that like exception handling in Java. So let us start our video. Okay, so the exception handling in Java is one of the powerful mechanism to handle the runtime errors so that the normal flow of that application can be maintained. Okay, so in this what is the exception is like the exception is an what is exactly the meaning of that exception is that like a exception is an abnormal condition. Okay, so the that an exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of that program. It is it is an object which is thrown at a runtime. Okay, so we will discuss about the next topic is that like a hierarchy of that exception handling. Okay, so there have the java.lang.throwable class uh, that is the root class of that Java exception. Okay, the hierarchy of that inherited by two subclasses like exception and error. So we will discuss the hierarchy. So the first super class is that like a throwable, then exception is that exception and errors are the subclasses of that throwable class. So in that exception there have the subclasses like IO exception, SQL exception, like class not found exception, then a runtime exception. Okay, so there have the this exception is called as that checked exception. Okay, so in that runtime there have the subclasses is like a arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, and number format exception, and another one is that index out of bound exception. Okay, so there have the unchecked exception. So we will move on to our topic is that like a checked exception and unchecked exception. Okay, so first one is that checked exception. The classes that directly the inherits the throwable classes except the runtime exception and error are known as that checked exception. For example, like IO exception, SQL exception, etc. Like checked exceptions are checked at the compile time only. Okay, so as we have discussed about our video, that is the IO exception, SQL exception, and another one is that class not found exception also. Okay, so that is the checked exception. So another one topic is that like unchecked exception. Okay, so in that unchecked exception, the classes that the inherits the runtime exceptions that are known as like unchecked exceptions. For example, like an arithmetic exception, a null pointer exception, or index out of bound exception. Okay, so unchecked exceptions are not checked at the compile time, but they are checked at the runtime. Okay, so I think that is also we have to cover in that our above the video. Okay, so that what is the exactly the difference between them? The checked exception are checked at the compile time. It means like if a method is throwing a checked exception, then it should handle the exception using the try catch block, or it should be declare the exception using the throws keyword. Otherwise the program will give the compilation error. Okay, so the next topic is that like a unchecked exception. So the unchecked exception are not checked at the compile time. It means if your program is like a throwing an unchecked exception, and even if you didn't handle, or it may be like a declared that the exception, that program won't give the compilation error. Most of the times this exception occurs due to the bad data provided by the user during the user program interactions. Thank you.